Let's bring in Tom Saunders from Sky News Weather and, let's start with a few numbers first of all. Tom, how much rain have we actually had in these areas overnight and where are the heaviest falls going to be throughout the day?
Yeah, Tom, good morning to you. Well, across the flood zones of northern New South Wales and southern Queensland, we haven't had any rain overnight. Further south, though, up to 160 millimetres has fallen around the central part of the New South Wales coast. So this whole weather system is moving further south. Now, that's an aerial shot of Ballina taken this morning, though. You can see the extensive flooding covering half the town. We've gone past the high tide mark at Ballina, so the water level, it's starting to become steady in that area, perhaps even dropping over the next few hours. The next high tide is due at 9:35 p.m. this evening. So again, we'll see severe flooding across Ballina. Now, here's the radar overnight. You can see there's no rain on the far north coast. Anywhere south of Port Macquarie, that's where we've seen some rain this morning. And the heaviest falls just in the last few hours have been around the Hawkesbury, Blue Mountains, Western Sydney, down towards the Illawarra. Some of these areas are seeing up to 30 millimetres falling per hour. Now, since 9 a.m, well, those numbers have reset. We'll ignore that. But here's the radar just in the Sydney area. You can see the showers have been on and off for the coastal areas, but we're seeing steady rain through the Hawkesbury and Nepean catchment, and we are starting to see some river rises in that area. Because the catchments are saturated, the rivers are responding very quickly to this rain. Here's the forecast rain today. Heaviest falls will be around the central stretch of the coast from the Hunter down to the Illawarra district, and that's why there's a severe weather warning in force for flash flooding, which goes from the Hunter district through Sydney to the Illawarra. Now, Tom, in that yellow zone, if we get some thunderstorms today, we could even see life-threatening flash flooding with up to 200 millimetres in a 6-hour period.
It's a lot of rain in that amount of time, isn't it? Look, I enjoy the weather app as much as the next person, but that's where my expertise ends. So I want to ask you about these slower moving systems. That's what we were told, particularly at the start, that the rain bands essentially just stopped, and that's why the flooding got so bad. Why do some systems stop like that?
That's a tricky one to answer, Tom, and it probably has something to do with what's happening in the upper atmosphere and the winds and the temperatures a few kilometres above the surface, because that will often drive what's happening at the surface. Now, you're absolutely correct. This weather system hasn't been forecast well in terms of the timing. That heavy rain in Brisbane was about 2 days after the initial forecast. We're seeing that again right now. Initially, the heaviest rain for Sydney was forecast to be today. I think it won't be until tomorrow because the low is still well off the coast. Now, here it is on Thursday approaching the coast, and there's your forecast rain tomorrow. Probably going to be even heavier than what we see today. Because the system has again stalled and slowed down, it means the rain will last longer, and that increases the chance of flooding. This is the forecast totals over the next 8 days. We're looking at well over 100 millimetres, the blue there, for much of the New South Wales coast, but potentially 300 millimetres around the Hawkesbury and Nepean, the western part of Sydney down to the Illawarra district. Tom, because the catchments are wet and the dams are full, that means we're essentially guaranteed to see flooding, and some of it could be major.
Let's hope the worst is avoided, but yes, it does paint a bleak picture. Tom, thank you.